The Oscar nominations were unveiled last week after a brief delay caused by the devastating and ongoing fires in California. Leading the pack this year is Emilia Pérez, earning an impressive 13 nominations, despite ongoing controversy surrounding the film's portrayal of cultural identity, which has sparked heated debates online. Close behind are The Brutalist and Wicked, tied with 10 nominations each, and Complete Unknown and Conclave earned 8 nods apiece. On the studio front, Netflix emerged as the frontrunner with 16 total nominations, followed by A24 with 14, Universal with 13, Focus Features with 12, and Searchlight with 10. However, the announcement wasn't without its surprises or disappointments, as some fan-favorite films, including Challengers, Furiosa, and Civil War, were notably snubbed. With the Oscars, there's always buzz, drama, and unexpected omissions, but is this year's different from others?
I don't know if I'd necessarily say it's different from others. I mean, I think this year's Oscars is in a weird place. The fires obviously have cast a tone over the Oscars that's going to have to be dealt with. You have these strange AI controversies with The Brutalist and Emilia Pérez that we've talked about, that the Academy is going to have to figure out what to do with if they want to give these films their awards and just sort of confirm that as not too big of a deal going forward, or if they want to make a statement. It just kind of remains to be seen about that and what's going to happen with those films in particular. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a ceremony. I mean, the Oscars is always going to struggle with certain core things. It's going to struggle with being accessible to the average person. How do we get people to be interested in this? How do we draw people in who maybe aren't really like awards show watcher type people? You've got like, it follows up the Golden Globes and all this type of other stuff. It's another award show. Like, how are we getting people to come to the table for it? But I think what it does have going for it is a really diverse set of films. I think Conan O'Brien being the host is incredibly strong, and I think he will bring. I think he will handle humor balancing with the stuff. I love Conan.
Reed's
like I've
holding
followed
up
him.
Conan O'Brien Funko Pop.
Yeah, for the podcast audience, yeah.
Like Conan's the man. Like I think he'll be able to really balance. Like he's going to have to deal with the LA fires and the seriousness of that, and he's going to have to balance it with the humor, and he's going to there's going to be a level of that I think he's very cut out for. So when you're looking at it, I mean, there's definitely winners to take away. You mentioned Emilia Pérez, you mentioned Netflix, like obvious winners leading the pack with all of these nominations, despite the controversies, despite all the online chatter. Like, it's still like you've been nominated for 13 Academy Awards, you know? And The Brutalist, again, despite the AI category, and Wicked, which, you know, we just didn't really know what was going to happen with Wicked. I don't know how many of those 10 it's going to actually win. It might sort of be in a Barbie situation where it gets nominated for a lot but doesn't take home a lot, so kind of remains to be seen with Wicked. But you definitely, you have your snubs / losers / whatever you want to call it. I mean, some of the more common ones that are being thrown out there, Luca Guadagnino for Challengers, and for like Daniel Craig in Queer. Like, these are movies that were not brought to the table for awards, and a lot of people expected. Nicole Kidman's performance in Baby Girl is another one that people kind of thought, okay, she's probably a front runner. Angelina Jolie, Pamela Anderson, some of these like names that you kind of expected to maybe see in the mix didn't really get in the mix. Maybe like Denzel for Gladiator 2. It's so there's just and that's my reaction too. Is it's just kind of like, it's I don't know. I'm not too hung up on who did and didn't get nominated at the end of the day, but yeah, I think we're in for a really interesting award season overall. I mean, controversies are always going to happen on some level. I do feel like maybe this one's a little bit more than usual in turn because you got the AI angle, but still, there's a lot to be said here, and I think it's still a strong slate of films overall, despite all of that.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there, Jay. In terms of like surprises, I don't think any of the nominees are all that surprising outside of what you brought up, the number of controversies surrounding some of these frontrunners, and apparently that did not have that much of an impact, at least on the Academy voters in terms of the nominations here. We'll have to see.
The nominations too were in before the AI controversy.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's a good angle to remember.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for correcting me and bringing that up there. But the other thing that I find surprising about the nominees anyway is like they're kind of in lockstep with the Golden Globes, and we've talked a lot about that. A lot of the times the Golden Globes are kind of a precursor for the award season, but it's not a one-to-one. You can't necessarily expect things that got love and attention at the Golden Globes to go the distance come Oscars. But here we have a lot of the winners from the Golden Globes going the distance with the nominations here, and those that were kind of, quote unquote, snubbed at the Golden Globes. So I bristle a little bit when it comes to snub. Like you mentioned, Daniel Craig's Queer. I don't know if that's really a snub. Yeah, maybe there was some buzz for his performance, but I just in terms of like the likely nominees, I don't think his exclusion is all that surprising to me. And again, to bring up Luca Guadagnino, I didn't see Queer, so I can't speak to the quality of that film, but I think Challengers is the bigger snub in my opinion. The fact that didn't get any love whatsoever, not even for the score or the soundtrack, where we saw that one win a Golden Globe. So you're going to have a lot of Oscar experts out there kind of like trying to tell you the definition of a snub. And ultimately, it's trying to put parameters around a subjective thing. Like, did you expect this film to take home a lot of awards? Did it deserve to? Was it expected to? That's such a subjective conversation out there. But for my purposes, looking at this lineup of films, the big snub for me is while Wicked did get a Best Picture nomination, absolutely nothing for the director John M. Chu, which is just, a travesty in my opinion. He directed the hell out of that movie, and it would not work as well as it did without his guiding hand. But the other one for me is September 5th. Or September 5. I'm still dubious about how that one's pronounced, but I caught that one a couple of weekends ago, and I was blown away just from the filmmaking, the tightness of the film, the story that it told, the performances. Peter Skarsgård, delivers a heck of a performance. John Maggio, who we haven't talked about all that much, but he popped up in Past Lives last year. Another fantastic performance for him. The fact that this film got no love whatsoever, not even a nomination, that is the definition of a snub to me. So there are some disappointments here, but going into this award season, I've seen 7 of the 10 films. So I'm feeling pretty good going into this. And like you said, Jay, the fact that a lot of these controversies were not as much of a thing until after the nominations were locked in, I think it's going to make for a very interesting ceremony when we see our winners and losers.
Yeah, I can't say I'm as well prepped this year for the Oscars, and maybe that's where a little bit of my excitement has died down. We're on the 323 network, we cover the Oscars pretty much annually. We do it part of our Super Week coverage and talking about the nominations and going throughout the whole shebang. But I don't know, this year it just hasn't felt as prominent, as huge for me, and I don't know if I've seen as much buzz surrounding everything, and maybe that's because of the films of choice here with Best Picture. And I saw Gladiator 2. I liked Gladiator 2. It was okay. Not mad about the Denzel snub, like we were all saying. He was an enjoyable part of it, not necessarily Oscar buzzy. But when it comes to movies like The Brutalist, which I'm excited to see, it seems like an incredible film and testament to the art. But it's not something that really is going to draw too much of an audience, especially. I think it did well coming in 10th place this past weekend at the box office, but
yeah,
it's not going to be a 3-hour epic with an intermission, about the immigrant experience is something people should see, but aren't unfortunately going to drive to the theaters for. And maybe that's created like a low buzz to all of this. And even with some of the snubs, I don't think Furiosa would have necessarily created too much more buzz, especially with how it performed during its run. And when it comes to these surprises and snubs, I don't think they hit too many. Like you all were saying with Daniel Craig for Queer, with all of the there was a little bit of hype and a little bit of buzz for him with those nominations, especially once the Golden Globes were out. Mm-hmm. That I could have seen him sneaking in there, but I'm really honestly not mad at the Best Actor lineup here, especially when you look at the people he's competing with. Ray Fiennes for Conclave was somebody that was being looked at as a frontrunner for winning this award just a couple months ago, and Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown is doing his best. God bless him. with SNL. He's campaigning like hell for this Oscar. And, Adrian Brody with one of the greatest comeback stories of, how many, weird or shitty films can somebody release in between potential Oscar wins between this and his last one with The Pianist in 2004. Sebastian Stan was a big surprise.
Oh yeah, good call.
Of actually getting in there for The Apprentice. It didn't, Jeremy Strong playing Roy Cohn in the film has been a front runner on supporting actor, but it was figured to be a little bit more of a fight for Stan, so I'm happy for him. I would have liked to have seen a little more love for the other supporting actor front runner in there, Kieran Culkin's film A Real Pain, which starred him, and it was Jesse Eisenberg who was the lead and the director for it. Honestly, would have loved to have seen a nomination for Eisenberg. I think he was a little bit of the typical Eisenberg, but threw in a lot more subtle heartache and emotion to the performance. I thought it was a really beautiful film. But outside of that, Challengers, Civil War, good flicks, but they'll be remembered on their own, but don't necessarily need the Oscar nominations. I loved Wicked, and I couldn't agree with anything more than the kind of disbelief and anger of John Chu not getting a Best Director nomination. Yeah. Absolutely incredible directorial work by him. And like you said, that film would not have been nearly as mesmerizing and phenomenal if it wasn't for his direction. You just see it with some of the style and flair that he brought to In the Heights a couple of years ago and Crazy Rich Asians before that. He has really, really, really created a awesome experience, and I'll be curious to see what it does win. I do agree. I think it'll be more of a Barbie situation where it's getting some, maybe a couple little technical awards. Ariana Grande was awesome. It would not make me mad if she won supporting actress just because of how spectacularly funny and just captivating her and Cynthia Erivo were. But I'm looking forward to it. It's not my most anticipated Oscars year ever, but like we said, Coco's there, so I gotta root for the boy. I gotta root for him. I think it's gonna be a fun experience with him.
He's the real winner of the night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm so excited to say that I've seen one of these movies. I watched it tonight right before our show, so I can say A Real Pain is really good. That's about all I can say. We're about to start our coverage over on Bingers Assemble where we cover all the Oscar nod movies, but I haven't really gotten started yet. I've seen a few. I'm exaggerating a bit for comedic effect, but I did really like A Real Pain. I did, before the show, I was like, I'm just going to put this on for 20 minutes and see if I like it, then watch the rest later. Ended up watching the entire movie in one sitting, which these days is rare for me because I'm such a got so much going on, but really liked Real Pain. I have not seen Wicked yet, and I really want to. I'd also like to see Emilia Pérez. I didn't even realize it was a musical. I know that's old news, but there's a TikTok going around, and it killed me. It's a TikTok that is putting Wicked next to Emilia Pérez and then like kind of questioning the fact that Emilia Pérez won Best Musical at the Golden Globes. But the tactic they use is putting the best possible moment of Wicked. It's that defying gravity moment, like the music is swelling and she's singing at the top of her lungs and it's amazing. And they cut to like what is probably one of the low points of Emilia Pérez, but the juxtaposition is like, it was very funny. I was swiping through on TikTok last night and found that TikTok, and it did crack me up because it's so like, it's like her belting out this amazing thing and then cuts to two people like, it just, the difference was so stark. It's very funny.
I got to say real quick before we move on, did you see the shot of Luca Guadagnino walking out of the Golden Globes? Did you see that this was a thing? So basically, as soon as they announced Best Picture, like as the second that they announced it, and it wasn't one of his films, he literally got up and stormed out, like left the Golden Globes. Yeah, which is no-no. Like that is a no-no. You don't do that.
Okay.
And I gotta wonder if that has contributed to maybe a little bit of the snub the snub aura around Luca Guadagnino. You know, I think people in Hollywood, especially when you're talking about Academy voters, like they really don't like that stuff. Like they think that you're being extremely rude. Like they think that you're messing with the sanctity of the awards season or whatever. Right. And I just got to wonder if that somehow played a part. But yeah, that has been kind of a controversy that's followed him a little bit over the last month.
Wow. I did not know about that. I don't know how much of an impact it had on these nominations, but it certainly will have an impact going forward without doubt.
100%. Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to bring up before we move on, though, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dune. Dune 2 got a Best Picture nomination, which is great to see because it came out so early in the year. Often when movies, get released in the first quarter of the year, they don't get as much attention when it comes to awards nominations, but very happy for Dune. But I don't know if anybody saw Josh Brolin. He had some comments about the fact that Denis Villeneuve was not nominated for Best Director. He said he's going to quit acting. Now, I do believe he was saying it tongue-in-cheek, but it's a strong take.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it'll be an interesting Oscar season to follow. I'm just upset that neither Craven nor Madam Web had anything nominated.
Snub.
Damn.
Big snub there. Big snub there. You just watched a clip from Multiverse News. If you liked it, go to our channel. We got a whole episode that it comes from. So go check that out and hit the like and subscribe. And we got lots of clips you'll enjoy, but also full hour-long episodes of Multiverse News with lots of things that don't even make it to clips. So check us out.
You stay clippy.